Hi, my name is Sam and welcome to my YouTube channel. In honour of my 4th anniversary in this house where I'm currently living, I want to tell you all about my experiences with London accommodation and about living in London. But before we do that, it would be amazing if you could like this video and subscribe to my channel down below, and also leave a little comment about the video itself, but also a smiley face or a general comment, as it helps my channel a lot. And now let's get started. So my 4th anniversary is on the 17th of July 2024. I think this video will come out a little bit after that. I'm recording a lot of videos in advance because I'm going on a couple of holidays, but it should come out around that time. I came to London 14 years ago, and my accommodation history is fairly simple, I have to say. A lot of people move constantly for one reason or another, because the contract expires, or because they don't like their housemates, or because something happens, they change jobs, so they need to be closer to their workplace. My situation is slightly different. In the 14 years I've been here, I've only ever lived in 2 houses. The first one was for 10 years and the second one for 4 years now. So, we'll start from the first one. So when I first moved here, I had no idea how the world worked, because I was only just about 19, straight after secondary school, and I'd only ever lived in my village of 500 inhabitants in the middle of nowhere, and I can't believe I physically managed to get myself here. And my first experience with London accommodation was a little bit shocking, and I can't believe I did that. So I before moving here, obviously, I had 2 huge suitcases with me on the day, and I booked a hostel for a week, I think. Now the hostel, obviously I don't come from money, so I needed to be cheap. In my room there were 15 other people. Now, I am very adaptable, and yes, I can do these things. I can't believe I did that, because 15 people in your same room, and 15 strangers, all in bunk beds. It's a bit intense coming from, where I come from, in the middle of nowhere in Italy. So that was an experience, and I will never forget that I actually got lost on my way to the hostel. I couldn't find it. Also, this was 14 years ago. I didn't even have a smartphone. Smartphones existed, but I didn't have one, so I couldn't use the internet. I don't know how I managed to find it. And then it was night time, so I got to the hostel, and then when I walked into my bedroom, it was like midnight, so I also had to be very careful not to wake anyone up. Luckily my bed was top bunk, which I thought was better, so I didn't have anyone above me, and I had a bit more space. I can't even remember how I felt, but I think I was petrified, terrified that, about the situation, and also I didn't want anyone to steal anything from me, so I kept everything under my pillow, all my valuables under my pillow, while I was sleeping, and it was intense, I have to say. But I was, and I still am very proud of myself for doing it. I ended up staying there for 10 days, because at the time again, I didn't even know how to find a room as permanent accommodation. So someone had recommended, or I found it on the internet, that I should get this newspaper called The Loot. I don't even know if it exists anymore, because now everything is digital. So I got The Loot, and then I went through all the potential options, and I had no idea how London worked. I didn't really understand the fact, well, I understood it there and then, that London is divided into tube zones, and I didn't really understand. I didn't know what the going rate was. Obviously, well, I did the maths based on what I saw, and then I called up a few people that had put ads up, and then I found my house. Now, I was lucky because you hear all sorts of terrible stories about accommodation in London, and I know that most people come here as even just for a 3-month learning experience, and they struggle with accommodation because they find all sorts of dirty and unthinkable places. Now, luckily for me, that was not my case. I did see 3 or 4 places. They just were not for me. I just didn't. Out of the 3 or 4 places, and I ended up going for the one I liked the most. But I have to say that the other ones weren't horrible. They were just not as nice as the other one. But I can't say that I was presented with an array of horror stories. I remember one house. Well, they didn't mention this on the ad, I think, but it was a family with a child, like a newborn child, and I would have taken the spare room. Now, I don't like children, like not at all. Also, I would not have wanted to be with a family. But there's nothing wrong with that. Some people are okay with it. It's just not for me. So that was a no. But the house and the room itself were brilliant. So it was just a case of incompatibility. And then I ended up settling on this house in very close to Stratford in East London, and you may know it because that's where the Olympics took place in London. I used to live very close to the Olympic Park. Now, Stratford is a very up-and-coming area because of the Olympics. I was there while the Olympic buildings were being built, and now there is also a huge shopping centre called Westfield, and again, I was there while it was all being built. And because of the Olympics, because of Westfield, the area really blossomed into the up-and-coming area. It's not even up-and-coming, it's already there, it's already arrived. So Stratford used to have a terrible reputation for crime and all of that. So even to this day, when I tell people that I used to live in Stratford, they all go, "Oh, that was a bit rough." Now, I'm sure it was rough in the past, otherwise it would not have this reputation. But I have to say that in the 10 years that I lived there, I had no issue whatsoever. I was never harassed. I was never disturbed by anyone. Now, I could see gangs, but they never bothered me. And what they say is that gangs attack each other. It's more of a sort of a turf battle. So if you don't bother them actively, they will leave you alone because they have no interest in attacking or harassing normal civilians. So yes, I did see some gangs, but again, and I am a drag queen, and I used to I do my makeup at home, most of my face at home, and then I walk to the station in drag. I had no issue, so I can't confirm that it's rough even though I'm sure it was in the past. I lived, so the main area, the main town is Stratford, still in London, but I lived like 2 stops down in an area called Plaistow. So Plaistow itself had nothing, just nice old houses, but then I was only a mile away from Stratford, so I could either walk there or I could take a bus, and Stratford has everything. It's the best connected area in London that I know, because of all the tube lines and all the trains that it has. Where I lived, I was closer to another line, the Green Line, if you know the tube system here. So I was on the Green and on the Hammersmith line, but then if either of those lines was down because of engineering works or any kind of accident, I could then just go to Stratford, and I had 3 more lines, actual trains. You can't really top Stratford. It's close to Stansted, which is the airport that I always fly from, and that's a big important criterion for me in terms of finding accommodation, because I want to be close to Stansted, because it's where Ryanair flies from the most. I'm very cheap, I have no money, I always fly Ryanair, and luckily there's a direct flight to my hometown in Bologna in Italy, so it's perfect. But now, so I lived in the poor area of Stratford, but now, because of all this huge improvement and the way they've done it all up, it's very expensive to live in Stratford in the new area. I'm not sure how expensive it would be to move back to my house now. And it was a house, not a flat. Obviously, I only had a room in London. It's very expensive to rent, is extremely expensive. So most people have their own private room within a house that they share, or a flat that they share with other people. Now, I settled on that house because it was the cheapest, I think, and I liked the housemates the best, and I loved the house as a whole. I don't think I have any pictures because it was a bit traumatic in the end for me. But I loved the living room and the kitchen. It was an open kitchen with the living room and a huge French door that gave onto a garden. The garden was ugly because it was just pebbles. There were no plants, but it was amazing in the summer. And also, although visually it wasn't the best, because I don't have a green thumb and I don't have time to look after gardens and plants, I would not have had the time to do that. I shared with 4 other people. Now the problem is that my room was tiny, so I loved the house as a whole, but my room was a third the size of this room that I'm in now in my new house. It was so tiny. If I think about the fact that I lived there for 10 years, I just can't believe I did it. But as small as it was, I still had enough space to work out in my room, because I don't go to the gym. I hate physical exercise, and I will make a video on that soon, maybe. But I do work out because I'm vain. But I could do it in my room, and I also had space to have to open my foldable desk. When I get into drag, I also used to be an online English teacher, and I needed a desk. So it was a fully functional room. Again, don't ask me how I made that happen, but it was extremely small. But because I didn't really know any better, and because I liked the house as a whole, and because it was cheap, it was great for me. Now, the biggest problem, I would say, that you can face when you share is your housemates. Now, when so one of the rooms was taken by a man who had, or still has, some clinical mental issues. I don't know what it is that he has. He was a fully functional human being. He could go to work and all of that, but when he wasn't at work, he was always in his room. In the 10 years that I lived there, I think I must have bumped into him 5 times in the kitchen, because also he does night shifts, so he would go to the kitchen when everyone was sleeping, and he would avoid going to the kitchen if he knew that anyone was there. So we never heard him, we never saw him. We could smell him though, because he wasn't the cleanest, and every now and then he would actually sort of verbally attack some of us, because he claimed that some of us were too noisy at stupid times of the day, which was not true, because we were all very respectful at night time. And he just, again, for whatever reason, he felt like he could complain about something that wasn't really there. But as weird as that sounds, and as off-putting as that sounds, I have to say that because he wasn't really there, it was actually quite convenient to have him, because I lived in a 5-bedroom house where 5 people could live, but actually I only shared with 3, not 4, because he didn't really count. We had 2 bathrooms. I was on the first floor, and I had my own bathroom with 2 other people, and then he was downstairs on the ground floor with another person, and they shared their own bathroom. So in terms of sharing logistics, it was all perfect. We never got in each other's way. And when I first moved there, the other housemates were amazing. I did not know what to expect. Also, I was so spaced out and out of reality that I didn't really know what was going to happen to me, how I would cope with any of the situations that would present themselves to me. But I really got on with the girls. It was 3 girls. We really got on. So we were all very independent, so we never cooked together, we never waited for each other to watch TV together or to eat together. No, we were very independent, but when we bumped into each other in the kitchen, we would talk, and it was very pleasant. I would not have wanted, and I still don't want to have someone that I need to cook with, also because I hate cooking, and so that was never my idea of housemates. So it was just perfect. We really got on, and I was also lucky because there was 3 girls, me and this guy, but one of the girls had a boyfriend, and she basically lived at his. Again, she must have been there for the first 4 years I was there. I must have seen her 10 times. She was lovely when I did see her, but she was never there. So basically it was me, 2 girls, and the guy, but even him, I mean, he didn't really exist, so it was just literally me and the 2 girls. So I had it very easy and nice there. But then obviously people started moving out, and we had the girl downstairs moved out, and we had a straight guy, and it was amazing. I mean, it was really nice, really chatty. Again, if it did happen that we bumped into each other, we would chat. It was great, very respectful. And then other people moved. He moved out, and then the girl with the boyfriend moved out as well, and that's when the problems started. When the girl upstairs moved out, we had this guy who, I don't even know where to start. He just stank. He stank. He reeked, and it was very disrespectful towards us as well, but I don't even know whether he meant it or whether he just didn't know any better because he'd never done anything like that before. But the main problem was the stench that he emanated. It was horrendous. So he was in the room next to mine, and we also had a flight of stairs to go down to the ground floor, and I will never forget this, because between the door and the floor there was a little bit of a gap in all the rooms. When I went down the stairs and my nose was, in line with the gap of his door, I could smell the stench coming out of that room. It was horrendous, and yes, it was disrespectful with other things as well, so it was a very uncomfortable situation, because I also had to tell him that it stank, and I asked him not to do this, not to do that, to clean more, blah blah blah, and it was very uncomfortable, because unfortunately I can't not say these things, and because I am really shy, it takes me a long time to get there. Also, I don't want to be nasty. I don't do these things out of nastiness, but it's just out of survival, and someone has to tell him. But it's not what I came to London to do. So I had to be very tactful about all of this stuff, and it was just very uncomfortable, and even just knowing that I was touching things that he'd touched made me sick, and the same thing is happening here actually now. So that was an experience. Then he moved out, and then I got my best friend to move in with me, because despite all these issues, I still love the house, and I didn't want to move out because I'm poor, and my brain wouldn't even allow me to think that I could even look for something else, because I never thought that I would find anything as cheap. And I loved the location. I love what I got out of this house, despite the fact that my room was very, very small. So when one of the people downstairs moved out, I got my best friend to move in with me, and it was amazing. Now, because we were already friends, we never waited for each other, so we could have dinner together, but sometimes we would then meet in the living room and we would watch TV together. And I think she stayed there for 2 years, and it was the best experience of my life. It was brilliant. We were very independent, we were very respectful of each other, so we didn't feel like we owed each other anything in terms of spending time together. Also, I used to teach, I used to be an English teacher, and she's Hungarian, so the way we met was that before I started teaching online, I used to teach small groups in person, and she randomly came to one of my classes, and then she kept coming, and we sort of hit it off, so we became friends. And then she even moved in with me, and she moved out the day the first lockdown started here in England. The reason why she moved out is very sad. So after my very smelly housemate moved out, then we had another very weird guy who only stayed 6 months, and then we had this new guy, and that was the beginning of the end. This guy was extremely disrespectful. Surely had some mental issues as well. He was extremely disrespectful. He would play PlayStation very loud, up until 2 a.m. in the morning. But that's not the main problem. He actively and shamelessly stole money from us. He stole food from us. He stole things from us. In the bathroom, I had a little flannel for my face, and one day it was gone. And then I knew he'd stolen it, but I didn't. It got to the point where I didn't even want to say anything. But then, months later, this flannel turned up again in his shelf of the behind the mirror. Those mirrors that you can open, and you have a few shelves there. So I took it. I took it back, but he had no shame, and we got the agency involved. They never helped us, actually. So I wrote a huge email detailing all the issues that he was causing, also health safety issues. Like he wouldn't lock the door, the front door, on his way out or back in, and things like that. And yes, he did steal money. He kept stealing milk from my best friend shamelessly. I mean, he just did it, and we confronted him about it several times. We got the agents involved. I had to write this huge email that I got my housemates to sign, so they all knew that they were all on board with my complaints. The agency was more on his side than ours, which was insane. They basically sort of accused us of not welcoming him enough into the new house and all of that. Now, I think I moved out because of the situation before his 6-month contract was over. So in England, what happens usually is that when you get a new room or a new flat, the contract is 6 months, and then it's on a rolling monthly basis. So the first 6 months from the moment you move in, so you're basically stuck in the room for 6 months, and then you renew it every month just by paying the month. It's a silent agreement that you stay another month. I think he was asked to leave after the first 6 months, but what we didn't appreciate was not only the fact that the agency basically accused us of, well, they took his side, but also the fact that they didn't ask him to leave sooner. I'm sure that when you have a good cause, you can, as a landlord, you can evict someone. I think this 6-month limit is protection for both. So as a tenant, you know that you can't be kicked out just tomorrow, but also as a landlord, you know that you will have money coming in for at least 6 months. But I think that if you have enough reason to kick someone out as a landlord, you can, with a little bit of notice, obviously. But yes. So what happened was that this put a lot of strain on the whole house. Not only what the guy did, but also the lack of support. And my housemate, my best friend, she moved out. She couldn't take it anymore. And when she started looking, before COVID was even a thing, I think so I got back from my Christmas holiday at the beginning of January, which is when she told me that she was looking for places. At the time in England, we knew of COVID, but we never expected it to escalate into a lockdown. And then she found something, and she literally moved the day that the lockdown it came into effect. So I think the lockdown started at 5 p.m. She moved at 3 p.m. I was devastated because I had lost my best friend. I mean, she didn't die, but obviously it's one thing to live together, it's another to still be friends but not living together. So obviously the relationship takes a big blow, and I was livid at why she left, and the whole circumstances of what was happening. And that's what spurred me on to look into moving out myself. The situation with this guy was unbearable, and again the lack of support made it even worse. And I thought, well, if my friend did it, I can do it as well. So I started looking, because I'd never even looked around, even out of curiosity before, so I didn't even know what the going rate was for a room anymore. And what it was lockdown, so I couldn't really do anything there and then, but at least I could look. And I also knew that I was in no rush, because I didn't have to move out, so I wasn't there was nothing forcing me to move, so I didn't have a deadline. I could wait and see if I could find something that I liked and something that I could afford primarily, and whenever I was ready I could move out. Because of lockdown, a lot of people left England, well, London, and to go back to their home country, so there were a lot of rooms available actually. And after a few months I found this, and I moved. So the first lockdown ended in May, I think, here, so I went from March to May, and then in the summer we were free-ish. So that's when I moved. I moved in July, and how I found this house is a bit... I mean, I'm so glad I always do the right thing, and I don't like the fact that I always do the right thing, because it makes me suffer. It causes me a lot of pain that other people don't go through. But I was so desperate to move out that I'd actually gone to see another flat just around the corner from here. The room was small, bigger than mine, because that you're going to find a smaller room than mine, but still fairly small. It was a house. It was a very, very big house, and I originally loved the atmosphere. Everyone there was very young, and they seemed to get along very well, and also they wanted to do things together, which I'd never done before. And I thought, actually, you know what, maybe this could be a good change. And I was so desperate to leave that I was literally going to take that room, even though I was a bit sceptical, I have to say, because I am independent and I am extremely busy. So the idea of sort of knowing that I have to owe them some of my time, because it's part of how that particular household works, it scared me. But then this room popped up, and because I'd seen quite a few rooms, I have to say, and I got a bit disheartened and a bit fed up with going to these places. So I almost didn't come to this one, because I was already settled on the other one down the road. But I am so grateful that I came here in the end, because this room is 3 times bigger than my previous room, and definitely 2.5 times bigger than the room that I would have taken down the road. And it's such a completely different atmosphere. So it's the 3 of us in this house. It's a house. We only have 1 bathroom, but it's fine. It's just the 3 of us. The house is extremely old. So we have 3 rooms, a bathroom, a living room, a little dining room, and then the kitchen. The dining room and the kitchen are horrendous. They are so depressingly ugly. Luckily, I don't cook much, and I don't care, and I don't spend much time in the kitchen or the dining area. I mean, they serve a purpose, so I don't care. I like the living room, and I love my room. My room, you can't really... Well, I'm in my room now. The colour here is just this, like, pale yellow, which is very, very, very old, I know, and it's all falling apart at the seams. But yellow and orange are my favourite colours, so even just that is great. It's very big. Right behind me here there is a desk, but the desk belongs to the room. This room is big enough for a full desk to be part of the furniture. In my previous room, I just so I had to buy this folding desk, which fitted, but obviously wasn't part of the room. And what I love about this house in general is the storage opportunities, because we have shelves everywhere, in the bathroom, in the living room. Here we have shelves. I have so many shelves here that I don't even have enough stuff to put on them, and it's brilliant. I have space, well, for my desk. Then I'm filming, so my phone is on my folding desk, just because it allows me to have this background. But I have space for a folding desk, and this is where I actually work out when I remove the desk. Then I have my bed, then I have another little space, and then I have my TV, I have my wardrobe. It's insane. I have 2 huge windows, and my room is the brightest and the biggest, and in the summer it's actually a problem because the sun just pierces in through the windows, and I sometimes have to draw the curtains because it just burns it from the inside out and you can't even see anything. When I do my makeup to get ready for my shows, I have to draw the curtain because the sun is so bright that I can't even see what I'm doing in the mirror. But it's a good first world problem to have. So I like it. It's been 4 years now, but every night I still, when I go to bed, I still look, I take it all in, and I still can't believe that I live here. And the price is exactly the same as my old room. I am extremely lucky. I literally struck gold with this house because when I moved here, it was like £590, all bills included, which is insane. I mean, it's insanely cheap for London, considering the size of my room and the size of the rest of the house. And then because of cost of living crisis, it's now up to 620, I think, which is still ridiculously cheap. And because of my housemates, which and I'll talk about that soon, I've looked into moving out, unfortunately, several times, but for this amount of money, which is all I can afford, I could never find anything in London anymore. I don't know why the rent hasn't gone up much more than this, but I am not complaining, so I am extremely lucky. Now, I love my room, I love my bathroom. It's very typical for London flats or houses not to have a window in the bathroom. In my previous house, there was no window in either one of the bathrooms. Here we have a huge, the bathroom itself is huge. I think the bathroom here is bigger than my room in Stratford, and we have a huge window. And again, it's a first world problem not to have a window in the bathroom, but it does make a difference. It does make you feel more at home. At least I grew up in a house in the middle of nowhere, so it makes me feel more at home. So I love physically the house. It's very close to Stansted still, which is very important for me. It's very well connected, and I am eternally grateful, and I would never want to move out. The problem is my housemates. I only share with 2 people, which is also good compared to the 4 people that I had before. But I've been very unlucky ever since all those girls from my first house moved out. That was just the beginning of the end. I've been very unlucky. Downstairs I had a guy when I moved in who's not here anymore, and he was, I know I keep saying this about all my housemates, but he was not all there. He was very simple-minded up until the point, when in English we say that someone is simple, I'd never really, well, I knew what that meant, but I couldn't really put a mental image, I couldn't attach a mental image to the concept of being simple. Well, he is simple, so now so now I have that concept in my head. He was very ignorant, very simple, and he just latched onto me, and he just wouldn't let go. I don't know what, he was desperate for attention, although he had a boyfriend, and I didn't particularly enjoy talking to him, not because it was unfriendly or nasty, it was just empty conversations about nothing, and I just didn't want to be around him. And I was busy. I was a drag queen already, and I was a full-time online teacher, and then soon after that I started my English YouTube channel, so I was busy, and I started to pull back a little bit, and he just lost it. Again, I think I know something was not quite there, and I moved in July, and one evening in August, I made a mistake. It was my mistake. So I hate cooking, so I cook once a week for the rest of the week, and I freeze everything for the rest of the week. And that week, it was August, and it was very sunny outside, so I decided to go out to the park. I live 30 seconds away from a park, and then, so I started doing my long cooking a bit late. He came back from work, and he told me that he wanted to cook, and I said, well, I don't really know what time I'll be done, but let me know when you're ready, and I'll just remove my things from the cooker, and you can cook, which I know is something slightly uncomfortable to offer as an option, but that's all I could do. Then he kept coming in and out, asking me when I was done, and at one point he just lost it. Something switched in his mind, and he just assaulted me verbally for the night. Basically, he just kept spouting out all this venom about me, about the other housemate, because I have a housemate next door here. It was insane. I was in shock, and I'd only been there for a month, and I'd run away from a terrible situation in the previous house, and I wanted something quiet here, but that was ripped away from me. So I was worried I would get evicted, because obviously, I expected him to then report me to the landlord, and obviously I would have expected the landlord to take his side because I was a newbie. He didn't do that, and he didn't tell anything to the landlord at the time. And then the weird thing was that after he attacked me, then he left, and then he came back in like 10 minutes later to apologise, and not apologise, to patch things up, and then he lost it again, so he attacked me again, so twice on the same night. And then the good thing about that was that because I didn't enjoy talking to him, I thought, you know what, because this has happened now, I have the right excuse not to talk to you ever again, and I loved that. But he was so weird that one day when, we weren't talking already, so the kitchen, so you have the dining room, then you walk into the kitchen, and so you have the door of the dining room, the room between the dining room and the kitchen is here, and then the kitchen goes stretches a bit further along here. So if you're here by the door, like if you're right behind the door, you can't really see if anyone is in the kitchen. And I'm very jumpy, so I was just running to the kitchen to throw something in the bin, and I didn't know that he was there. But when I saw him, I just went that's all I did. I didn't say anything, but that's all the sounds that I emitted, and he lost it again. He attacked me for another 10-15 minutes, and he did everything on his own. I didn't say a word. He kept saying, oh, I don't know why you're so jumpy. I mean, obviously you live with other people. You should expect other people to be in other places, in other areas of the house, and stuff like that for 10 minutes, and I did not say a word. He basically argued with himself. So that was the third time. And then over the years he tried to patch things up, and I was like, no, because I don't actually think he remembers attacking me, and that's where I think something was not quite there. And the only thing that I regret was that I wasn't recording any of that, because obviously I wasn't prepared for it. But after he attacked me, I started walking around the house, so every time I went downstairs I had my phone with me on record in case he attacked me again, so I had proof. He never did, and it turns out he actually knew that I was recording him, but I mean, if that deterred him from attacking me, that's also good enough. The situation, obviously, when I tell this to people, they all tell me to move out, but I have to say, although it was uncomfortable, at the end of the day I actually liked it, because I only share because I have to, not because I want to. And it was a slightly different situation with my friend when she lived with me, because we were friends beforehand, and I loved sharing time with the girls when we had the chance to. But I am so busy that, I mean, again, I don't want to share. I don't want to cook together. I don't want to eat together. I don't want to watch TV together, because the very few moments that I have to watch TV, I want to watch what I want. So I like the fact that I basically lived on my own, because the guy next to me also had problems, and he just never left the house, but he never gave me any grief. I mean, he just didn't exist. So I basically lived on my own because the guy that attacked me, he's like a security guard, so he works in the office. He can't work from home, and then because he had a boyfriend, he spent a lot of time at his boyfriend. So I was basically living on my own, paying the price of one room. So it was amazing, and I didn't have to worry about interacting with him because it wasn't going to happen. So as uncomfortable as it sounds to someone like you just listening to it, for me it was actually a blessing in disguise. And then a few people moved out of this room, and we had other very strange people. And then we had my current housemate, who I mean he's clinically, I think he's at least autistic. We don't know what he has, but there is something. And I mean, when I say these things, I don't say them as a, there's nothing wrong obviously, but of course they're having these issues, bless them, has an impact on my life as well, which is not something that I signed up for. Yeah, it's not my job to look after people that need any kind of help. I know there are people who will love to do that for a living, but it's not me. And because again, these are strangers, they're not even family members that obviously I would look after, and gladly so. These are just strangers that get put into my house, and they cause me a lot of problems because I love the fact that this guy never leaves his room either, just like the previous one. So I basically live on my own, but he stinks because he never showers, and he has very, very long hair, and he's been here for 3 years I think now. And the fights, and not even the fights, but the amount of times I've had to tell him to, to clean up after himself. He would leave crumbs everywhere in the kitchen, hair everywhere, and although he has improved, he still does it, and he stinks. And the problem is that I'm always the one doing these things and confronting people about these things, because all the other strong men that I've had in this house, they all complain to me about how much they dislike this guy, for example, but they never do anything about it. So if I want something to be done, I have to do it myself, and I don't particularly mind that, but it's always very uncomfortable for me to be put in that situation of having to. To do something, we also got the landlord involved, because we got to the point where we didn't really know what to do and what to say and how to say it. So he's better now, but he still reeks. And now we have another housemate downstairs. So when the one that attacked me moved out, we got this other guy, and I thought he was very friendly, and I liked the idea of having someone that I didn't want to talk to spend time with this guy. I didn't want to have someone that I had to spend time with or I had to watch TV with. But I also wanted someone decent and friendly, so I liked the idea of not having to purposely either avoid him or actively not talking to him. So, if we bumped into each other in the kitchen, it was nice to exchange a few friendly words. And it was like that at the beginning with this guy also. I mean, all these guys are gay, by the way. And the only people that I never had issues with are straight girls and straight men in my other flat. But gay guys, oh god, these two that are giving me a lot of grief, and well, the first one that attacked me and this one here, are just men children, and it's insane. They're in their 40s, by the way. I'm 30, they're in their 40s, and they have these very bizarre issues that are not clinical issues. Well, the previous one surely had something clinical as well, but this is just psychological issues of not having grown up properly. Oh god. So because this guy doesn't really have a life, he just goes to work, comes back home, and then he goes to a cafe. He spends all his time in a cafe, and then he comes back home and he wants to talk, because he doesn't talk to anyone because he has no friends. But I can't do that because I have no time, and I don't particularly want to because we didn't click that way, although he is nice. So I pulled away from that as well, and again, now he started, like, he actively started a war against me simply because I don't reciprocate something that was, I mean, the fact that I, was nice but then pulled away, but doesn't mean, we're not here, I have the right not to want to be your friend. I'm friendly. But even the other guy, I kept telling him, why are you so fixating on wanting to talk to me? Because even after he attacked me, and I think he didn't remember attacking me, he kept attacking me, he kept wanting to be my friend. He kept telling the landlord, because then he did say something to the landlord, that he wanted to be my friend, and he wanted the landlord to let me know that he wanted to be my friend. And I was like, if you think those horrible things that you told me when you attacked me, why would you want to be my friend? I just don't get it. And I told him, why are you so fixated on wanting to talk to me? You know, the guy upstairs never doesn't exist, but you have no problem with that. By his own admission, he told me that the guy before me never spent any time with him. But if that was okay, but I was like, why are you so fixated on wanting me? And the same thing with this guy. When he realised that it wasn't really going there, he then made some very bitchy comments on a group chat where the landlord is also part of it. And I was like, you're 40 plus, and he works for the police, but he's also studying to become a psychologist. Like, wow. So I've been talking for a long time, as always. So this is my experience. So in terms of housemates, I have to say that the bad luck outweighs the good luck that I've had. And I would love to live on my own. But I just can't afford it. And the money that I pay for this is all the money that I can afford, and I can't find anything else anywhere else at the moment. So I will have to be here. And I hate the fact that I would have to move out because of them, because I love what I have here. So in my head, my next move would be when I move in. When I just go and live on my own. I wouldn't want to. I would hate them even more if they forced me to move to another share house. Just because of them. But we'll see. But I am very, very happy with the room. If I didn't like the room, I would have left somehow with no money, but I would have found a way around it. But yes, after only, I think, 50 minutes, that's my story. So let me know in the comments if you've had any, if you've ever lived in London, what your experience regarding accommodation was. If you've had any good, bad experiences, and wherever you live, let me know how it works there. If it's common for people to live on their own or to share. And after this very short video, I will let you go. Good night.